Alrighty, welcome. This is the rotation guide that I said I'd be doing, the updated rotation guide with our tier sets, and realistically, with or without our tier sets, it doesn't really change much. But we'll talk about AoE and single target, which also doesn't change that much, just because it's literally switching like one or two buttons. But however, there is some brand new information from essentially last night. I'm not sure who exactly, when or where brought all this up to the table, but here is this simulation sheet that is listed publicly in the Warbreaker Discord. You can see it here, Discord GG/Warbreaker. I will be putting a link in the description to the Warbreaker Discord, so you can go there and access this. Something you'll see here is that you might see update information that's updated, and it gives you the date updated, so that was yesterday or today. And these are the people credited for it. TMY is a Discord author, but Agard, Peepaw, Greg, Fishy, Wally, Cone, Arkham Tyros, Deswin, Silmarian, Arma, Sari, and Nomer. I have in no way personally participated towards the improvements of the APL, which is why Fury has gone up recently. But one thing you will probably find in this Discord compared to Wowhead or Icy Veins is mainly the fact that I'm assuming honestly to update Wowhead and Icy Veins, because of how public it is, it probably takes a bit to get all of that stuff worked towards and updated correctly. And they also, I'm assuming also Arkham Tyros, who's the writer for those guides, also wants to make sure the information is solid before those are updated. So those probably take a little bit of lag time to update compared to things we obviously find overnight. So if you're looking in those areas, feel free to take what I'm saying, obviously, with a grain of salt, and then you can come to the Warbreaker Discord and look at all this stuff, and I'm sure Archie will update those things, or update those resources before the raid release, so all the relevant information is there, right? Because it just takes time to get all this stuff updated. So if you don't see it there, that's probably why, or at least that's my guess. But if you're looking for good resources, like I said, I'll have the Warbreaker and Skyhold Discord links below the comments of the video. But here's the actual difference, or the change that was made that brought Slayer up a little closer to ARM single target, and is the fact that we were running this, right? We're running Onslaught, but the reality is Onslaught doesn't really do a lot for us. I mean, it gives us stacks of Slaughtering Strike, so it's decent, but all of our main stuff, because we're running Reckless Abandon, basically comes from Crushing Blow and Bloodbath. Like, that's where most of the bread and butter is here. So because of that, we were buffing our Bloodbath by putting another point in Vicious Contempt, and we're taking a point out of Deft Experience and into Critical Thinking because we're still buffing Raging Blow, making it even better. It is essentially our strongest button in the entire rotation of Crushing Blow. So if you crit your Crushing Blow in your cooldowns and everything, 10% increased crit damage, it's just really good. And it's a little better than 1% mastery and a bit of enrage increase on our timer whenever we bloodthirst. So this is what our updated build looks like. We just simply remove a button. In the video I made previously talking about this macro here, where is it, is now more relevant than ever. However, I still would not advise you to use this. Essentially, like I said in the previous video, this will make sure that you use Crushing Blow or Bloodbath before casting Rampage. So if you're in your cooldowns, you can just be mashing the button and it'll essentially play the spec for you. But I would not recommend, because there are niche scenarios where you will lose out in damage. However, if you are playing this spec as just like an alt or something you're messing around with, this might be something valuable to you. But I would not wholly recommend this, because it is simply going to be worse for you as a player and worse for your damage overall by using something like this. It is also updated from the previous video where I did the one button macro thing, where you cast Crushing Blow first before Bloodbath, because you want Crushing Blow to also buff the crit chance of Bloodbath through Blood Craze, and that's the only difference there. But otherwise, the only real difference is that since Onslaught is gone and we're buffing our Bloodbath and our Crushing Blow so much, It's essentially just cast Rampage, cast Crushing Blow, and Bloodbath, and then if you can, if you're at or about 150, if you're below 115 rage, you can cast another Raging Blow. If you're at 115 rage or even overcapped at that point, then you just go Rampage again. So I'll just show you our opener, and this is just our standard rotation now. It's very, very simple. It's even simpler now that we aren't even using Onslaught for our single target. Right into Blade Storm, wielding Crushing Blow, Overcap, Crushing Blow, Bloodbath. We have 3 stacks of Slayer Strike, so we'll now cast that. Even though it's Bloodbath, we will be overcapping for it. And now that we're running out of Rampage, see, we're in the situation where we can cast a couple Crushing Blows. We want to cast Crushing Blows essentially while we're below the threshold to overcap, Raging Blow, because Crushing Blow is worth overcapping for, but Raging Blow is we don't want to overcap using it. We can spend it, but we just mainly want to make sure we're staying enraged, and that's what we're doing here. But it's very simple. Make sure you cast those 2, spam your Crushing Blows, or spam your Raging Blows in between at 3 strikes. Hit that. Oh, we've got... It's a very, very simple rotation now. So essentially for our single target here, I'll bring up a notepad just so we have this to look at. It is going to be our cooldowns. And then, or this will be for single target rotation. That'll be our cooldowns. It will then be cast Rampage if not enraged. Crushing Blow. Bloodbath. Raging Blow if below 115 rage. Rampage if not enraged or at and above 115 rage. Bloodthirst. Slam. And this is our single target. I do advise, it is kind of weird, but you probably will want Slam on your bars just for very, very weird situations. Oh, also I forgot to put Blade Storm while enraged. Also, one of the things that is nice about how Blade Storm works now because of Unhinged is once you cast it, even if you have pretty low enrage uptime, I'll wait until our enrage is kind of almost out, so down to here. If you cast it, the Bloodthirst you're going to be casting from Unhinged will generally push up the duration long enough of your enrage. You saw that time I actually procced a full enrage, but it will push your duration up through the 1 point in depth experience to where you can still send Blade Storm even if you're at half enrage, and it will keep it up for the full duration because of those extra Bloodthirst being cast while you're spinning. And because we're getting rid of Onslaught, that also might leave some situations where if we don't get enough resets through improved Raging Blow and Wrath and Fury, or we're not getting enough hack and slash resets, sometimes it could just happen. Generally, you're going to want to be casting Slam. If anything, if you cast Slam and then during your GCD you charge in, that's when I would use Charge Weaves. If you somehow run out of all of your Raging Blows and Bloodthirsts, you can cast a Slam, run out of rage during your global cooldown, and be back in for the next spell. So you can use Charge to generate that additional 20 rage to potentially get to your next Rampage that will give you through hack and slash more Raging Blow charges. But otherwise, we're really not charge weaving that much. The only other thing to consider realistically is this is for pure single target. For AoE, because of improved Whirlwind, when Whirlwind hits a target, we gain Rage. So in AoE, you're not going to want to be Slam and charge weaving. You're going to be hitting Whirlwind as a charge weave and then charge back in. It is a little easier since Whirlwind actually has an 8-yard range. It's a little larger than your normal melee hitbox because you can see we can hit Slam from here, but Whirlwind hits all the way from here where Slam is unable to hit. So it makes this charge movement a little easier in terms of building Rage, but that's mainly if you're running... That's only if you're running improved Whirlwind, which if you're running on an ad heavy fight, you'll have this, or if you're running Mythic Plus, you'll have this improved Whirlwind talent, in which case you won't be hitting Slam at all in any form of AoE, you'll just be hitting Whirlwind. So Slam is only for single target, bottom of the barrel fill, and if you are slamming in single target, I would recommend using Charge as a weave to make sure you're getting enough Rage to get to your next Raging Blows from Hack and Slash and Rampaging. Okay. That was a mouthful. Now we're going into our AoE rotation. Haha. For our AoE rotation, it is obviously going to be cooldowns. Do a little dash, little dashy. Whirl. So is whirl with an H? It is whirl, like cool whip. Whirlwind. Oh god. Whirlwind. If 0 whirlwind stacks. To differentiate, I'm just going to call these meat cleaver stacks. If you look at the buff is actually called, if you're spec'ing to AoE, it's called whirlwind on your bar here. But I'm just going to call them meat cleaver stacks because if you're going to be taking AoE, generally you're going to be taking both points and not just improve Whirlwind. So every time you AoE, you'll have 4 stacks of cleaving your abilities. Rampage if not enraged. Blade Storm. Odin's Fury. One thing to note is I did talk about the pandemic mechanic a little bit. Here, I'll show it again here just so you can actually see it. But what the pandemic mechanic is essentially Odin's Fury lasts 4 seconds, and you can refresh dots that have at least 30% or less duration on them. So that means when Odin's Fury is down to 1 second, you can refresh it back up to 5 seconds and not lose any of the damage. Whereas if you refreshed Odin's Fury while it had 2 seconds left, because the Odin's Fury is cast from Titan's Torment, it would only go up to 5 seconds and you would lose 1 second of that dot damage. It looks like this, where normally you'll never see Odin's Fury go above 4 seconds on your thing. But if you wait till it goes down to 1 second, and then refresh it, it goes up to 5. So you're not actually losing anything. The other important thing to note is realistically, most times that you're actually doing this, or you're popping Avatar, you're generally wanting to be popping Avatar with your Blade Storm. So as it stands with AoE, generally you'll charge in, pop your cooldowns, and then you'll Blade Storm. And while the Blade Storm is running, your Odin's Fury from the Avatar cast is going to tick down far enough to where you're just going to be able to cast like another Crushing Blow or a Rampage, and then cast your next Odin's Fury. So you're not actually, yeah. So essentially, you're not wasting Odin's Fury time on the target, and you want to get it on cooldown to use it as much as possible. As long as you're enraged, it feels cringe, but it is worth casting Odin's Fury. Because while your avatar is still active, I don't believe you get the... Because it says here, when you activate Avatar, it generates Rage. I do not believe you get the additional Rage generated if Avatar is already active when you cast Odin's Fury itself. So that's not something you need to worry about. So it goes here. Odin's Fury if enraged. And if you're not enraged, you Rampage, obviously. Bloodbath. Crushing Blow. And it's the same thing as before. These are worth overcapping for. However, the main thing we're swapping here is we're putting Bloodthirst as our priority as compared to putting it below Raging Blow. The reason for that is mainly because in AoE, we want to, by proccing Reap the Storm, it applies Overwhelmed, increasing the amount of damage you're doing to everything around you, as well as it is just doing a lot of damage when you hit Bloodthirst, and it procs that because it's reduced beyond 8, but it's going to be doing a lot of damage for you. Reap does quite a bit of damage in dungeons. That is why we prioritize it at this point. And then it is Raging Blow if below 115 rage. And then it is... We'll put this up here, actually. Rampage if not enraged or at and above 115 rage. So we don't need to add this stipulation here. Rampage is still going to be doing a lot of damage for us, so... But you don't want to, essentially, you do not want to overcap while using your builders, just like before. And then it is Whirlwind as your finalizer. Because the buff you see here, these 4 stacks of Whirlwind, you obviously, in AoE, obviously always want these up. That is why they are so high priority. And you prioritize them before becoming enraged, because essentially all you're doing is you're wasting enrage time if you enrage and then AoE. Because a mechanic that works with Rampage is you will enrage before the damage is calculated, so it's always worth making sure you have your Whirlwind stacks up before rampaging, because that buffed damage is still going to be hitting everything. It's just, you just want to cleave your stuff, that's it. So this is where we're at. And it's honestly very, very simple, very, very similar compared to your AoE single target. The only thing you're doing is prioritizing Bloodbath because of Reap the Storm compared to Crushing Blow. And that's kind of it. You still want to cast Bloodbath and Crushing Blow before you Rampage again. So those 2 buttons are still worth overcapping for, even in AoE. But all we realistically did between single target and AoE is making it so that we wanted to cast Bloodthirst before our Crushing Blow. That's it. It is very, very simple. I will have in the description, I will have, once again, my Mythic Plus and my single target builds listed there. And it will have the updated single target one listed here without Onslaught. And yeah, that's kind of it. That's where we're at. This also works with our tier. This also is taking our tier set into consideration. One thing that is important to note about our tier set is our 4 set is kind of trash. So we don't really care as much about our 4 set. Our 2 set is decent. And what our 2 set does is every time you Bloodthirst or you Bloodbath, it makes your next Rampage do 10% more damage. Now, I already tested this on the beta, so I don't have to reconsider it. And all it does is, if you have 1 stack of Slaughtering Strikes, as an example, which increases the damage by 20%, and then you hit Bloodthirst and you get the stack of your tier set, and that's 10%, they don't interact with each other. It's just a flat 30% buff. So it's not like if you have 5 stacks of Slaughtering Strikes, you're not going to buff that Slaughtering Strikes bonus damage by 10% with a 2 set. It is just a flat buff. It also, our 2 set does not stack. So if you, as example, are low on rage and you Bloodthirst and you're in this situation, you do not want to Bloodthirst again. You would rather Crushing Blow if you can in that situation, because that buff does not stack, meaning you just essentially did not gain any bonus from our 2 set. You just essentially lost a cast there in terms of value. And that's the only other thing really to consider. Because our 2 set also buffs our Rampage damage bonus. But that's what we're looking at. That's our updated thing. If I'm wrong, which I don't think I am, let me know. But that's what we're looking at for now. I will be looking forward to... Oh, Also, slight update. I'll be doing another video talking about trinkets, but right now, because of the base, just the random bonus effects that you get from this trinket, you saw I just started combat and hit the mob, and I just have another 30 seconds of strength, which means that if you go into this obviously isn't going to happen all the time, but imagine you go into your cooldowns, you now have an additional 700 strength on top of the additional strength you're getting from this, on top of the damage you're doing. Basically, you're going to macro this into whatever. Like, I have this macroed into Raging Blow, so it just casts whenever, because it just does flat damage. But the additional strength that it gives us is actually very, very valuable. And is going to be better, currently at least, than Scaramouche Shard. So right now, this is going to be better for single target for us than Scaramouche Shard, like I thought before. Scaramouche Shard might have more value in AoE situations, mainly because the mastery is going to scale better for us when we're doing a lot of AoE damage compared to the pure single target damage that the Trinket active and the strength is going to do. So definitely, you can easily do this on a first boss farm in City of Threads. City of Threads first boss drops this. It can only drop one of 2 items. I would recommend you go pick that up because it is going to be pretty good, especially early on. But yeah, that is currently what we're working with. And thank you very much for watching. I hope you have a good one, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.